You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here with TGI Sports Talk Sunday stream of consciousness. I am unsure what's going on again with Facebook, guys. The show does not appear to be live. Well, you got to go to my profile picture and click on live. For whatever reason, it is not streaming in the news feed. So click on the picture and it shows that it's live. I'm very upset with this whole Facebook and whatever they're doing. They keep changing their things, and apparently Keith's ticked off today. So it is streaming on the feed and on my personal page. So anyway, hopefully you guys can find us okay. We had a great crowd for Don Beebe on Friday. And I want to thank all you guys. And I hope you had a great Christmas holiday or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever you celebrated. Good to have you with us. Welcome everybody watching again on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. I just got off the big football show where we had a little to do, and I apologize for my bad attitude. It was on our football picks. I had a chance to pick a game that was on Christmas Day, before Christmas Day, and then they disallowed it. So whatever. Not a huge deal. I just want to apologize to Mac for my attitude. There was a little misunderstanding in something that got said. Whatever. I would never pick a game after it'd been played, just to be clear, if you were watching. In any event, we're also want to thank the groups that allow us to share our content. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, Sports of All Sorts. Not Sports of All Sorts, the Love of Baseball. It's Ken Krause with Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts. Bottom Line Sports with Flo and the Gang. They do a great podcast over there, which is broadcast live on Let's Talk Sports. I still got music going here, don't I? Let's Talk Sports, who is also a good friend of this show. Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff there out of Pittsburgh, including a Sports Corner with Smoke and Jim Frazier, 4 to 6 p.m. every Tuesday, Eastern. And I've been on that show and always have a lot of fun. What else? I guess that's about it. I want to thank my guest, Don Beebe, from Friday on One-on-One with Keith Engle. We had a great conversation, man. There's no more inspirational guy to talk to than Don Beebe. I had such a great time. Former wide receiver with the Bills, went to 4 straight Super Bowls there, didn't win, went to Green Bay, won one. We had a great conversation about football, life, just great stuff. And he's a very inspirational guy, and he's still transferring that to young people today as a coach of Aurora University in Illinois. My guest next week will be Richard Todd, former Jet quarterback. Had an immense challenge of filling Joe Namath's shoes, although I have a comment about Namath later on, maybe, if that comes up in one of our topics. And also in a couple weeks, we have Tony Collins, former with the Patriots. Lots to talk about that. Let me get into a couple of good mornings here, make sure everything's going okay, because sometimes I find out here nothing is. AC, good morning, buddy. Chester. What's that? I'm confused. Help me out here. Help me out, buddy. Good morning. How about Pegs as the Peacemaker? That was funny. Well, it's not that big a deal. I'm not going to sit here and rag on anybody. Again, Mac's not wrong. Most of the year we've had just picked Sunday games, and because we didn't get the lines before Thursday night games, and with the earlier games, we played half the schedule before Sunday got here. No big deal. I end up taking a team I don't want to take. Not a big deal because there's no money involved. There's nothing. Keith has a little meltdown and he goes away. I don't stay mad at anybody, as you guys all know. Trying something new. Can you see this comment? I can. If so, happy Sunday to all. What are you trying new, Drew? I'd love to know. Here's the thing that really upsets me as far as comments, right? Well, no, I guess if you're watching us on TGI Sports Talks page, I'm going to go back there again real quick. I guess you can't see the show in the timeline. That's what pisses me off. I don't get freaking Facebook changing crap around, but you see live up in my profile picture, right? That's what you got to click on apparently to get to the show, if I'm not wrong. Paul Spada, I think, had pointed that out to me. There you go. Go see. As I click on it, I hear myself saying that's what pisses me off. Anyway, let me know what you're trying new, Drew. Listen, again, it's your show, guys. We'll go where you want to go. There's a couple things I want to throw out there. There was a big discussion, and I think we got a pretty good crowd for now. And I'm hoping some of the guys that were in this discussion. There's CA. Good morning, CA. Good to have you with us. There was a big discussion in the TGI Sports Talk room, I think Friday night, maybe. I had to go because I was getting tired and I couldn't get my point across. There was talk about Jalen Milroe and not playing with Alabama and transferring to Oregon. Listen, I don't know where. I couldn't find the video. There's no credible reporting that Jalen Milroe is going to Oregon. The only credible reporting you can find is Jalen Milroe is going to the NFL. So I don't know why we'd be upset about one guy if he's playing Tuesday, by the way. I mean, the conversation kind of went around and around. And guys, you can bring it here. It might be easier to kind of chat about here, or we don't have to chat about it more. Maybe again, when I say credible reporting, the report that the guys kept sending me was from some rag internet site where they put out clickbait right and left. And even that article didn't say he was going to Oregon. It was talking about options if he decided to stay in college and transfer. The bigger question is, is it wrecking college football? And the question, if you watch these bowl games, they need to go away, or the system needs to change. I'm not, and listen, in the beginning of this, I was blaming, and I'll get back to this. Actually, I won't go too deep into this. I want to get some other topic possibilities out there. I did blame the kids, but I don't blame the kids anymore. Not when coaches don't stay. 5, 6 coaches didn't coach in their bowl games, or maybe more, because they had taken new jobs. Universities aren't loyal to kids or fans or the history of a conference, the other teams in the conference. They aren't loyal. It's the NCAA who won't go to bat to put some kind of guidelines in place. I'm not faulting kids, and if I want to fault kids, go fault. There's a bunch of other kids we can fault. Kudos to Fran Brown. All 22 of his starters played for Syracuse in their bowl game, which was a big victory in the Holiday Bowl. Anyway, we'll get to more of that. We can talk about the portal. The portal date's ridiculous. We can get into all that. Cam Ward did start yesterday, set a few records. Miami loses in the late going. I don't think they care. I don't think teams care about winning these bowl games. They care about playing guys, getting more practices in. I think that's all they care about. We've got the quarterfinals coming up, obviously. Kind of hard to read my reading there. NFL playoff push. I got an rest in peace here in a second, too. I should have done it with college football. But with the NFL here, I'll do it here. We got the playoff push. We got some big guys out today. Tua, Hurts, Richardson all out today. Odd game. Odd finish that Bengal game. I bet the Bengals yesterday. I figured I'd lost once they kicked a field goal at the end of regulation to tie the game. And then they up scoring an overtime touchdown, even though they didn't score in their initial drive, which is where you need to do it normally. So they were 3.5-point favorite, and Keith gets a cover. I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff I've got. A question came up. The Hall of Fame nominees we'll get to as well. I know that a comment was made about Eli and Kenny. I see Kenny here. Good morning. Good morning, Kenny. Talking about Eli being the worst quarterback ever in the Hall of Fame. He's not in yet, by the way. Second of all, he's not going to be the worst quarterback in there. And I'll give you some other examples of guys who had fine careers, by the way. But I'll give you a few examples if we want to go that direction. MLB Burns is pointing out Corbin Burns signs a big $210 million contract with Arizona, which is a bit of a surprise. I didn't see them on the radar. And they got a pretty good staff over there in Arizona. But Teoscar Hernandez re-signs with the Dodgers. So to me, the Dodgers are still a team to beat. Probably an MLB. I mean, just my point. Knicks are hot in the NBA. They won 7 in a row. Brunson scores 55 yesterday. Knicks are hot. Cavs are hot again. Thunder, probably the best team in the NBA. If you want to get into some hockey, Rangers are sucking right now. Devils are surprising. We'll get Jim Beringer on after the first of the year. And the Jets. Billy Pulver's Winnipeg Jets are the best team in hockey at the moment. College basketball. The SEC is dominating the top 25 with 5 teams in the top 10, 8 in the top 25, and the local team, Syracuse. I didn't look at all of them. I looked at a couple. Syracuse 6-6, UConn 10-3, and St. John's 10-2. A quick before I get to your comments, and guys, take it from there. Anything else you want to talk about, we'll talk about. I want to say a quick goodbye, if you will, and Godspeed to Greg Gumbel. 50 years broadcasting. I remember Greg Gumbel from 1980 or 79, I guess, when ESPN kicked off. No, he was there later. He wasn't there from the very beginning. I don't think. He came later. But I've been watching Greg Gumbel on TV for the better part of, 4.5 decades, probably. He did games with Phil Simms. I thought they were one of the best play-by-play teams I've seen. I like Nance and Simms too. Simms very underrated as a play-by-player in my mind. He got screwed by CBS. I know people don't like him, but I don't care. I like him. But Greg Gumbel was a consummate professional doing the doing the college basketball tournament, the studio show, some play-by-play during his career. He did it all. Filled in for Dick Schaap sometimes on the Sports Reporters when that show was on ESPN. Always did a credible job. And Greg Gumbel wasn't part of the NCAA coverage last year. And we want to send our condolences to his family. He passed away these last couple days at 78 years old after battling cancer for quite some time. Sad day. And our thoughts and prayers are with the Gumbel family and friends. So I still don't know if Drew's trying something new. What are you trying new? Oh, there it is. Never know when my comments will show up, depending on how I enter your show on Facebook. Going to your TGI Sports Talk page doesn't seem to show those. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Drew. What you got to do, I have no idea what they're doing. I've removed it and removed the destination, put it back on my StreamYard, and most of the time it's there. And Paul Spada pointed this out to me. Thank you, Paul. That if you look up in the top banner, right, and you see my profile picture, which is just me in a Patriot hat and a top from about, 10 years ago. So you see the TGI Sports Talk banner. You can see the circle with my profile picture. It says live. And I guess I'm going to have to point this out to people. I wonder if I can share this. What if I click on this? I'm pissing it off. It's not live though. Oh, there it is. Click the live. That's okay. I'm gonna try some. What if I share the show? No, am I in the studio if I do it this? Well, that worked well, right? I took myself right out of the studio. I'm trying to find out. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. I'm trying to find out if I am showing now live in my stream after I share the show, which I am. So I've got to go share my own show. Jesus Christ, man. Facebook. Can you make life any harder? Bunch of freaking Nazis, I'm telling you. All right. Anyway, I'm over that. So there you go, Drew. So hopefully you clicked on that. Anyway, Corbin Burns we talked about. There's Kenny Gifford. Good morning up on the mountain. Hopefully it's warming up there. We're going to get in the 50s today with some rain. Heat wave. College football should just go to 2014 playoff and do away with the bowl games. Listen, I'm not going to argue that point. We talked about 32 teams, 64, which is way too many. I would like to see some even number, like 16 or 32, where you can neatly have brackets that break down and not have to give buys. Then it's the buys. Well, again, even outside the bowl, how many bowl games have you seen worth watching? Miami, Iowa State was an exciting game. Worth watching, I suppose. For what? Marco Cristobal played like he didn't care about winning the game. That's what he coached like, sorry. Army was fun. They blew them out. Navy wins. I mean, there are teams that use this time to get practice in, and I'm okay with that, I guess. I'm just not going to care about the games. I did go 3 for 3 yesterday, by the way. I bet Army last night minus 14.5. I bet Miami and Iowa State over 57.5. I saw Rick make a comment that it was 56 he saw on a sheet. I bet it yesterday morning at 57.5, and it was 56 at halftime. Couldn't lose. At halftime, you can't lose because you got to go to overtime. Somebody's got to win by 2 at least with the stupid college football rules. But yeah, I'm not going to argue, Kenny, that, these bowl games for the most part, except for the ones that are putting in, and there's a few. Kudos to Syracuse again. Really exciting Holiday Bowl. I don't know what it is about the Holiday Bowl, but it's always 70 or 80 points get scored, it seems. Syracuse, in this world of opt-outs, Fran Brown had 22 starters back to play the bowl game. And he said in a press conference, he had some guys opt out, but they weren't guys that they were counting on, so whatever. But he said, we play football. He was answering about Kyle McCord. And by the way, there seems to be a loophole where Kyle McCord could come back to Syracuse next year. His draft stock isn't very high. Carson Beck announced he's going into the NFL draft. His draft stock is not very high. 4th round at best, based on a site that I use all the time for projections. We'll talk more about that if the need arises. So I think the Pats are going to fire Mayo. Before yesterday, I was pretty solid in the camp of no. Robert Kraft's a very loyal guy. Mayo stuck around when he could have got other jobs, even coordinator jobs that would have paid him more money, potentially. But he stuck around because of some promises the Krafts made. And I really thought they would give him a second year, make some changes on the staff, maybe in the front office. And then next year was make or break for Mayo. After yesterday's debacle, that was just awful. And the fans in the stadium chanting loudly some very derogatory things about Mayo. This could get ugly. I don't know. I still think he'll stay, but I think it's 50-50, not 75-25. Morning, Dave Guyette. Congratulations to your Syracuse Orangemen, as I just mentioned. Big winner in the Holiday Bowl. Always one of the fun bowls to watch. Why does anyone complain about the Dodgers being an evil empire? I don't see a laugh. I don't see a smile emoji or laughing emoji. I don't see Danny Fuller out on the West Coast yet. But the fact that we talk about the Yankees for years, we talk about the Yankees were the evil empire, right? Because we spent more money. The Dodgers spend more money, and then they find ways to circumvent the salary cap at the same time. $1 billion in deferred payments. Good morning, Billy. Still out on the West Coast, are you? Hope you're enjoying some nice weather if you are. And as I said, I'm sure Billy's happy with those. I think he means, by the way, go Jets. I'm going to say he means at this point the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, I didn't bring this up. I made a quick note and it was off to the side here. Speaking of the New York Jets who play in New Jersey, just to be clear, they don't play in New York, if you didn't know. It looks to me like Aaron Rodgers is doing everything he can to get himself waived. If you didn't catch some of his remarks this week about Woody Johnson, listening to his 15-year-old son about player movements and player acquisitions, and it's pretty clear he was being very disrespectful to the owner, and maybe rightfully so. But Aaron Rodgers is trying to talk his way out of New York and get his money. He doesn't want to retire. He wants the money. If he gets waived, he gets his money. Eli won 2 Super Bowls, by the way. And I saw this come up in the chat yesterday, so that's why I kind of brought this up. And I've got some numbers here, by the way. So let me throw a couple other things at you. I don't have his wins and losses here. I'll take you at your word. He's 150 and 150. But he won 2 Super Bowls, not one. He beat a team that was 17-0 in the Super Bowl. He also, when you look at his numbers, let me find him again. He threw 122 more touchdowns than interceptions. Now you say, why is that important? And again, I know different areas of games are different. Ken Stabler, 1 Super Bowl win, not 2, 1, threw more interceptions than he threw touchdowns. Sonny Jurgensen, these guys are all in the Hall of Fame. Sonny Jurgensen, more interceptions than touchdowns, no championships. No championships. Played a lot of his career before the Super Bowl era. Joe Namath, 1 Super Bowl, obviously maybe the most important game in NFL history. Way more interceptions than touchdowns. Completion percentage under 50% for his year, his career. Dan Marino, no Super Bowl wins. Tremendous stats, obviously. Jim Kelly, great quarterback. Got to 4 Super Bowls, never won. Dan Fouts, no Super Bowls. I had somebody else here. I can't read their name. Let me look here real quick through my notes. So again, I'm not deriding any of these other guys, but Eli Manning's getting in the Super Bowl. There's only one guy that I can think of that has 2 Super Bowl wins, and I think he should be in as well. Jim Plunkett is the only guy with 2 Super Bowl victories not in the Hall of Fame that I can think of. If you guys could come up with another name, please share it. I can't. Matt Henry, good morning, buddy. Good to have you with us. As always, good to have all of you with us. NFL injuries continue to be an issue. Top name stars. Tua is out. Richardson's out. Hurts out. Lamb out. Injuries are always going to be a problem. And by the way, partly because you don't hit. I'm going to go through this again real quickly, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But the problem with injuries, training camp is training camp. They do hit. But the Players Association has made things so strict that we get shitty football. Excuse my French. I know it's not French, but you can make your comment. Football in September, and then you get injuries all year long because once the season starts, there's no contact in practice. None. So this is not going to stop, and the Players Association is part of the problem. Seahawks Bears game, yeah. First game this year, all year, lowest scoring game in the NFL this year. First time nobody scored 10 points, either in victory or defeat. There's been some snoozer games. Very interesting game. You know, speaking of yesterday, speaking of these games since Thursday, if I'm Sean Payton, and maybe I get it, his rationale probably works. But if he wanted to win the game, his best chance to win that game yesterday was to go for 2 when they tied the game at 20. What did they score the game at? Tied the game at? Oh, I don't remember. I guess when he tied the game at 24. He didn't go for 2. His rationale was they would benefit from a tie just as much as a win. So in that situation, he probably did the right thing. But that was a wild game. I bet the Bengals -3.5. And when they got to the 2-yard line, I think, and their running back Brown goes to slide down, he gets hurt, and you're thinking they're just going to milk the clock and kick a field goal. But then Joe Burrow tries to score on the next play. And they settle for a field goal, and they go to overtime. It looks like a loss for me because I'm going to lose by half a point. Unless the Bengals, who took the kickoff, went down all the way down and scored a touchdown. They didn't. They kicked a field goal. Bengals kicked a field goal. I'm like, if I got this right, I think it was 21-21. Anyway, regardless, somehow the Bengals got the ball back a third time in overtime. They ran the clock all the way down to like just under 3 minutes before the Bengals got the football. And then they end up scoring a touchdown anyway to win the game with their second possession, which almost never happens. I don't want to fall too far behind. Where are we time-wise? 8:48, so I'm on about 8 minutes behind. Stick with me, guys. If you put comments up, stick with me because we get a little behind because Keith's got a lot to say. By the way, speaking of betting, bet with your head not over it. We got a couple. We got a little extra. They raised the limit in our cigar box this week. So right now, I got 2 games. I can still bet 2 more games with the amount I bet per game, and I'm 5 for 6 this week. So we're making up some ground, trying to get to the break-even point before the season ends. CD talks about the PDC World Championship. We got Texas high school football playoffs in NFL, NHL. Even from Australia, I don't know what that says. Australia auto dominates over most college football bowls. Australian rules football. Basketball in our circle of viewers. National numbers reflect similar. Not here, though. I mean, the bowl games don't draw a lot of people. In fact, they invite people based on how many tickets that they're willing to commit to for the game. So again, to Kenny's point earlier, we don't need all these bowl games. T. Higgins comes off the injured list and immediately scores 3 touchdowns. Great game for T. Higgins yesterday for sure. Joe Burrow, I don't know. I saw some. Danny's not here, so I don't really want to talk behind Danny's back. But it felt like, and I can't follow the chat all the time, guys. I apologize. And sometimes when it gets too much for me, I kind of just mute it and move on for a while and come back and maybe make a comment because I have people around and it's hard to follow it the whole time. But I did see Danny. Doesn't look like Danny's a big Joe Burrow fan. I don't understand why. Joe Burrow's one of the best quarterbacks, having one of the best years in the NFL. And if his team was any better, he's kept that team alive by himself. But Chase and Higgins has missed some games. But Burrow is one of the best. Just watch him play, man. I don't know what you don't like. The Joe Cool attitude, I don't know. Imagine Pete Carroll coming back, and I think that would be best thing for Jake. Man, he's not coming back. Listen, I might be for that if the Patriots made a move. And Pete Carroll's made it clear he wants to coach. He's going to get an interview from the Bears. I think he's the best fit for the Bears, by the way. Throw the Patriots out for 1 second. The one job he's been tied to, getting an interview most likely, is the Bears. Pete Carroll's 73 years old, but he's probably more like 53 in spirit. They need a culture change. That's what they need. They don't need X's and O's. They've got some good players in Chicago. Pete Carroll would be an excellent selection. I'm going to be in the minority here. I know that. And as you know, I don't care. Public opinion doesn't often sway me. But Pete Carroll to the Patriots would also be an interesting pick. We need a few more X's and O's. He'd be good for Drake May. And I will tell you this, Robert Kraft loves Pete Carroll. In more than one book I've read about the Patriot dynasty and other areas, Robert Kraft has made it clear the thing he regrets the most, even despite all the Super Bowl victories, was firing Pete Carroll. Just saying. Buckeye Nation, Ohio State and Oregon both get screwed in this playoff bracket, the way they lined it up. And it had to be done because of the buys. They have to do away with the buys. We talked about it on the college football huddle the other night, Matt. There's no way that probably the second best team, sorry, Georgia, Texas fans, probably the second best team in the country is playing the number one ranked team in the country in the quarterfinals. That shouldn't happen that way. And it's because of the way they use rankings and then they use seeds. Just use seeds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, you would do away with these not bad matchups. I like these matchups in the quarterfinals. I think they'll be fun. Matt, I believe Oregon will squeak out another victory against Ohio State. I think Penn State will find a way to slow down Janty and beat Boise, but do not rule out a Boise State upset. Texas, I think, will handle Arizona State. Great story, Arizona State, but Texas has too much. Speaking of quarterbacks coming out, Quinn Ewers is probably fallen in the 4th or 5th round about now. Some talk about him transferring and possibly to back to Ohio State. There was some talk, Matt. I don't know whether that's chatter. That is not anything. That's no more than somebody speculating Jalen Milroe may stay in school and may go to Oregon. There is no credible evidence that's happening, to be clear. None. Danny and his partner are still sleeping. Well, Danny should sleep. I know Danny's got some, Danny's getting better, which is good. We want all our, anybody who's had some health issues, and we've had a few as we've gone through this this year on TGI Sports Talk. Some were serious than others, but I take all of those seriously. I want all my friends and followers to be helped. You guys are all my friends, by the way, just so you know. Anybody who follows this show and participates, I consider you a friend of mine. Some of you are longtime friends, and it's a little bit different. Kenny and Rick and some others, Billy. But all of you that I've met over the last 5 years of doing this, and even in the last year, we've picked up a lot of people who have really participated on the show, and I appreciate it more than you know, and I consider all of you friends. And when we argue, that's all we do. It's just an argument, a debate. Opinions are like a-holes, right? We all know that. So everybody's got one. Mine, again, I'll tell you, Paul Spada can tell you, Danny can tell you, Kenny can tell you, Rick can tell you, Drew can tell you. It's very hard to move me off my. I do move. I'll admit I'll admit when I'm wrong, but it's very hard to move me off an opinion once and again, I very rarely just knee jerk into an opinion ever. I'll do some research. That's what I did with the Jalen Milrose conversation came up, and some others. But once we get done, and if I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong, but we argue, we part friends all the time. That's what this show is about. Unlike the rest of the country, we part friends when we disagree. Not going to happen, but they got a young, talented kid with a good head. They need a good head coach. I'm not sure. We're still talking about the Patriots, probably, yes. I think my gut still says AC, he'll get another shot. We'll be talking more about the NFL coaching carousel in the coming weeks, as you'll see more jobs open up here in the next week or so. But Drake May is a good, talented kid, and Drake May will be okay. Gotta stop leading with his head. That's a penalty not getting. Listen, I know referees don't do a good job. I have a big thing. You don't lose because of referees. You certainly don't lose because of referees when you get beat as badly as they did, but they need to be more consistent. He gets hit in the head and looked like he might be out for the game, but he did come back after going through the concussion protocol. But they're so inconsistent with these hits to the head, and then he's sliding later, and the guy barely touched him. And again, by the letter of the law, then that was a penalty. But by the letter of law, the other one's a penalty. So maybe it's a give back. I don't know. We need more consistency. I am cursing. It's I'm sorry. I apologize. It's holiday season. I'll stop with the cursing. Hopefully, I've made it easier for some of you guys to find us on the TGI Sports Talk page. I'll remember that I got to go look and share it. Facebook, bane of my existence. It's funny. I have this love-hate relationship with Facebook because they have allowed me to build a following of, heading towards 3,000 followers. We get with the groups that they allow me to share to when they're allowing me to share and not be Nazi-like. I mean, we'll have between 1,000 and 7,000 views on whatever show we're talking about, unless they take it down for their own ridiculous reasons. So I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. Kenny says all those guys you mentioned are so superior. How? Ask me how. Stabler is that much better? Again, Stabler had no arm. I'll disagree. Listen, by the way, I'm not a big Eli fan. Just to be clear, I'm not an Eli backer. He beat my team twice in the Super Bowl. I have said on this show and other shows that Eli Manning is Jay Cutler with 2 fluke Super Bowl wins. But if he gets in the Hall of Fame, I'm not going to say to you he's the worst quarterback there. Jurgensen, again, never won anything. He was a great gunslinger, but that's what Eli was. Fouts. Their numbers are all very similar, except they have no Super Bowl wins. Again, you're entitled to that opinion. I don't know whether Eli. Again, it's the hard part of this is, and by the way, I would argue Namath belongs in the Hall of Fame over all the guys I mentioned that would be worse than Eli as a member of the Hall of Fame. Namath belongs because he won the most important game in the history of the NFL. The merger was possibly going to fall apart. They needed to show they could win, and they did. Hello, Chris F. Grave. Man of mystery. We haven't seen much of you lately. You didn't move further north. You're not at the North Pole working for Santa now, are you? And that's why we haven't seen you for the last 2 weeks too much. Here and there. Richmond Lockwood Sexton. Richie Sexton. 306 career home runs. 50 years old today. I remember Richie Sexton very well. Yankees tried to acquire him a few times from the Brewers. Sexton had a couple of really good years, and then the batting average started to go down, and the strikeouts started to go up. I talk about Alonso being Dave Kingman. Richie Sexton is a poor man's. That's a funny phrase because he probably made more money than Dave Kingman ever thought of making. But happy birthday, Richie. Don't worry, Notre Dame will put me over the top. I agree. I do like Notre Dame against. I didn't finish Notre Dame over Georgia. I like. I'm not Stoddard. It's Stoddard, right? I keep saying Goddard. I don't know why. Rick, help me out. Stoddard's a backup quarterback. I'm not confident this kid is going to. If we get to a crunch time moment, I have burned in my memory that interception against Texas. That game never should have gone to overtime. Now, he's had a month to practice since then. 3 weeks. Well, he'll have a month, I guess, by the time they play. I think Notre Dame's just playing some of the best football in the country. Joe Burrow should be in MVP talks. Unfortunately, the record, you're going to have a hard time being at, 8-9, 9-8. I mean, if he gets this team in the playoffs, and again, remember, this is only for the regular season. The playoffs will not count at all. He'll get some consideration. I finished third. Josh Allen is winning the MVP this year. There's no doubt. Lamar Jackson's had another great regular season. And again, in the context of this conversation, don't tell me he doesn't win playoff games because I agree 100%. We're talking about rating quarterbacks and who can help you win. I don't have Lamar ranked that high because he doesn't win playoff games. But this is a regular season award. He's had some tremendous regular seasons. Josh Allen has led his team and carried that team on his back, and at the same time has really improved his game. cut down on the mistakes, played more in control. Josh Allen's the MVP. Joe Burrow's had a tremendous year, though. Keeping up with Chris's tradition, we got more birthdays here. Devon White, Richie Sexton. You want to keep up with birthdays too in the Major League Baseball. Join Greg Rollins' group, America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball. There's 500 or 600, maybe 700 players, active players in there. And all those birthdays get celebrated. Not all these guys, but Devon White, Richie Sexton is we already talked about. J-Rod, Jack Wilson, and the ever bench-worthy catcher Ken Rudolph. There's a name from the past. It's funny. We went through all the names that passed away this year in Major League Baseball on the MLB update, and some of them I hadn't. I mean, I catch most of them. Happy birthday to all these guys, by the way. I catch most of them, but some of them I was surprised that had passed away, and some of them, a lot of them just jog good memories for me because the 70s were so much fun for me in sports and baseball specifically. Drew talked about knowing some of the names through Stratomatic, and as do I. Larry Brown was one of those guys, and I know him strictly because he's on my bench half the time when I play 70s Stratomatic. 365, Stratomatic 365. I'll plug it shamelessly. You guys need to give me some money, though, Stratomatic, because I have plugged the 365 game. I'm going to write them a letter. I participate in games year-round. I sometimes have 5 teams going at once, especially when the mystery tournament's going on, because you got to manage 5 teams at once in different decades. It's a lot of fun. Not as fun as the real game, as Drew knows, but it's a lot of fun. So I've donated a lot of money to your organization. Plus, I mention you all the time. Chris says Tiger time. Tiger's son, Charlie, drained his first ever hole-in-one. Excellent point. I think they lost, if I'm not mistaken. They had a father-son tournament last weekend that they lost to Bernard Longer and his son. Bernard Longer is one of my favorite golfers, by the way. And it's still got a sweet swing. I love watching him play. He's got to be close to 70 now, if he isn't 70. And playing still on the Champions Tour. But Charlie is the real deal. We'll be seeing Charlie. Charlie's still, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, Charlie's only 15 years old still. And he's been playing in these things with his dad since he was like 12 or 11. Paul and Kenny, the newlyweds on TGI. Boy, you talk about love-hate relationships. Where Paul's on the East Coast. I'm sorry, West Coast. Jesus, good grief. He's in the Midwest. He's only an hour behind. There's Paul. I see him right there. There he is. Good morning, Paul Spada. I had to skip a few comments. I'll come back to you, Paul. But Kenny was asking where you and your newlywed Danny were. Newlyweds don't argue like that, do they? Kenny. All in good fun, my friend. My pick'ems have been only half successful for the week so far. That's pretty bad because but at this point I picked some games I wouldn't normally pick, quite frankly. I think in normal circumstances I'd probably be undefeated. And I try to win everything I'm in, as you know, Drew. I'm not a good loser. I'm not a good loser. I'm not a good winner either, actually. But it's the few games that I can pick out and win some money on that really gets me going. But again, now I'm just, and it's stupid. I should probably just pick like I would always pick all the time, but especially now since I'm so far behind. You make some picks trying to be, Nostradamus. If it isn't before Christmas or after Christmas, the NFL is stepping on all, especially college football and the NBA Christmas Day. Just look at the numbers. That was golf in Australia. Sorry. I thought we were talking about Australian rules football. Well, college doesn't really play on Christmas. You're talking about any time? Yeah, not just Christmas Day. I get it. And look at the NFL. This is nothing new for the NFL. They've been playing on Christmas Day for a while. They played playoff games on Christmas Day when the season was shorter. They've always played on Saturdays the last two, I guess now it's 3 weekends of the year. And they've always outdrawn college. And they did it also against the college football playoffs, the first round. I'm more interested to see we won't have them head to head again, because I believe the rest of the playoffs are, these quarterfinal games are going to be one on January 1st. That's the Penn State Boise State game. And then, December 31st. And on January 1st, New Year's Day, we've got the other 3 games. No pro games are being played those days. And the semifinals, I think, are on the following Thursday, Friday. Let me check that out. Am I right about that? Let's just see. Here's the bracket. Here's the dates. So the semifinals are played on 1/10 and 1/9, which I think, because I can't do the math in my head. Sorry. What the perth? 1/9 is a Thursday, 1/10 is a Friday. So they will not match up with the NFL again. Well, no, they should be in the playoffs. So they will not match up with the NFL again this year. It's a business now. MVP Super Bowls is the cake. I'm not sure what that means, Carlos. And welcome to the show, the Mad New Yorker, my former partner on Friday mornings. Carlos usually brings a unique take to whatever conversation we're having, one that I'm often on the other side of. Speaking of which, but we part friends. MVP of Super Bowls is the cake. That means nothing to me, by the way. I'm not telling you that Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Jim Kelly, somebody else I get written down here, don't belong in the Hall of Fame because they never won a Super Bowl. I'm telling you, Eli Manning won 2. He's got to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, he does. And so does Jim Plunkett. I don't. Again, there should be no simple criteria. There should be an overview of your career. Touchdowns over interceptions doesn't matter. Regular season starts matters more than touchdowns over interceptions. I mentioned 5 guys, at least 5 guys. There's probably more because I think Bart Starr, I think, has a few more touchdowns and interceptions. Stabler, Jurgensen, Namath. Oh, Bradshaw I left off. Bradshaw's career numbers, except for Super Bowls, which is what really matters. It's not the MVP. And again, you're going to be the winners, Carlos. So maybe the MVP I'll give you. Regular season starts, could care less. The idea is to win football games and win Super Bowls. Everybody's goal needs to be to win Super Bowls. If that's not your goal, I don't know why you're running teams or playing games. This is why I keep telling you guys. And I had a conversation with James Martin. And if James pops in today, we can pick it up a little bit. And he disagrees with me 100%. I'm not taking a quarterback in the first round ever because of the hunt. And that's from last year, so I don't think it's changed any. Well, there's more quarterbacks taken in the first round. 130 plus quarterbacks have been taken since 1968 in the first round of the NFL draft. Only 8% of them ever win a Super Bowl. Ever. And 2 of them, I think it's 11 total. I can't do the math, but I believe it's 11 total. And 2 of them did it with different teams. So the logic says you don't build Super Bowl winners through your quarterback. Now, that's not to say there aren't great quarterbacks, and those numbers are actually inflated a little when you're thinking about the fact that Bradshaw, who was number 1, in fact, won 4 Super Bowls. Who else was number 1 quarterback that won? Eli won 2, right? You've got guys who have won multiple Super Bowls that actually increase. Well, I guess they don't, based on the way I just said that. And there's not a huge number that actually reached the Super Bowl. Now, again, I guess that's the way I wanted to tell that story. If you factored in 4 times Bradshaw, 4 times for Jim Kelly reaching the Super Bowl, then that's 8 times reaching. If you wanted to add it in that way, then you're going to bring the percentage up. But that's not how they're doing the math. They're doing the math by quarterback. And that tells me, I was against Drake May. I love Drake May right now, and he's playing great. I was against the Patriots taking a quarterback with that 3rd pick. Take Marvin Harrison, take a quarterback later. Because the percentages say there's a 92% chance that Drake May will never reach a Super Bowl. Stockton. What I say? What I soldered this time, right? I'm never going to get this guy's right. If he wins a national championship, I promise I'll learn his name. Your team's going to beat him on New Year's Day, Kenny. I'm excited for that game. That game's at night, right? By the way, they've done a good job, and some of it's dumb luck, right? But they've done a good job of some of the historic bowl games that we want to see stay, like the Rose Bowl. It's got what would have been in the old days, or even a year ago, a Pac-12 Big Ten matchup, which is what the Rose Bowl was. The Fiesta Bowl, again, that was pretty much a independent bowl, so Penn State and Boise State. The Sugar Bowl, though, has Notre Dame and Georgia, who's played in Sugar Bowl many times, and they get the SEC champion. And then you have the Peach Bowl. What do you got here? Action Jackson could get 3 MVPs. He's not winning. Josh Allen is the better player right now. And Lamar Jackson's playing great. And he's really stepped up his game, especially the last 3 weeks. And both of these guys, by the way, have got to get to a Super Bowl or maybe win a Super Bowl to get that monkey off their back. You're going to wear that forever until you win. Steve Young wore it forever. Who's some other guys that took a while to win? I don't know. Dan Marino never got it off his back. Doesn't diminish the great career he had in my mind. Well, a little bit it does. I mean, I think he got there in his rookie year and he thought he'd be there many, many times, I'm sure. Never got back. Namath is the only player in history who leads the NFL and NFL in both in yards and per passing attempt. Well, that's true. Let me give you a couple other numbers about Joe Namath, though. Joe Namath completed only 49% of his passes. So, yes, he threw a lot of bombs that were completed, but he threw more incompletions than he did completions. He had... I got to get to the right stat here. Where's the line I want? He had 220 interceptions and 173 touchdowns. That's one of the worst. He wouldn't even be playing in today's game. I know the games have changed. Don't get me wrong. Eras, it's hard to compare eras. He couldn't play today. But again, Joe Namath won the most important game in NFL history. Belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think Jim Plunkett belongs in the Hall of Fame. His career numbers are going to be horrendous. If I can find Plunkett here quick. There he is. Plunkett, way more interceptions than touchdowns, but he won 2 Super Bowls, and he's one of the great reclamation project stories in NFL history. To me, if you win 2 Super Bowls, you've got to be in the MVP. You got to be in the Hall of Fame. Hello again, Paul Spada. I'd like to know more about this Stratomatic 365. I'll send you a link if you like, Paul. You have to buy credits to play. I think you get 5 for $75 or something like that. And you can play different eras. I like to play the 70s. But you have the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. You can play current seasons. You can put together teams of all-time greats. There's a mystery turn. There's a mystery league. Most of the 60s, 70s, you play mysteries. You don't know what card you're getting, right? Could be any one of 5 seasons. And then there's some there's some nuance to knowing like figuring out what card it is if you're going to keep the guy in your team or not. And then I like the mystery card format a lot. And I play in a mystery tournament every year. It starts in late January or February. In fact, I got to be checking my emails because I almost didn't get in last year. The guy sent me an email. So I got the last spot. There's like 200 some people that play in it. But then they play a bunch of seasons. They play 160s, 170s, 180s, 190s, 2000s. And then the top 24 finishers there, they add up your wins and you get bonus points for making the playoffs, one bonus points for winning championships. And then those 24 teams play in a league to determine the overall champion. It's a lot of fun. I can send you a link, Paul. Send me a message to remind me and I can send you a link to it. 67 years old. Who's that? How am I doing on time, by the way? 9:13. I'm falling behind a little bit. Who's 67? You? I don't know where. I'm not sure where we got there. Dan B is the bestest. I'm not sure. Oh, Dan Fuller. Dan's not with us this morning. Hope he's doing okay. My God, I didn't pick any game through Saturday by mistake. It's hard. It's easy with the holiday to screw that up. I haven't done well, I don't think, because I'm trying to catch up. We'll go through the games in a little bit and give you my picks. I did bet Baltimore, but I'll give you. I got 3 games to bet today, so I'm going to bet. I'll give you who my bets are going to be in a little bit. And we're starting to inch towards breaking even. I got off to a horrible start, man. Way in the hole. Started to dig out a little bit. Last few weeks, I've only been making just a tiny little bit of money to chip away at it. This is a week that if I can get 3 winners today or even 2 winners today, I can take a big chunk out of that deficit and get closer to the break-even point. Carlos says, LTS Fantasy League Championship weekend. I have 3 tight ends on IR. You didn't even play in the TGI Sports Talk when Carlos. Carlos is one of the guys that we wanted to make sure was in and committed to playing, and I'm pretty sure didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, and if you did, man, you had a bad year. I'm praying you didn't play. Well, you couldn't be talking about ours. So we're going to be removing you from the TGI Sports Talk one, just so you know, because we had 3 guys that didn't play, and it really throws off the competitive balance. NFL can get views, but some of these games in the NFL were god-awful. I don't disagree. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be forcing teams to play 3 times in 10 days, which was a Chiefs issue. And I'm pretty sure that Houston and Pittsburgh and Baltimore had to be in a very similar situation, if not 10-3, then, or I'm sorry, 3-10, then 3-11 or so. Stupid. The NFL's got to stop playing outside of Saturday, Sunday. I think the Thursday games are awful from the team's perspective. I understand about the money aspect of sports. Don't ever think I'm Pollyanna-ish and I don't understand. But I will tell you that chasing money hurts quality, and you're shooting a golden goose. You will shoot the golden goose between the playing too many days of the week, the stupid rules we put in, legislating violence out of the game, having inconsistent refereeing. You will kill something that is laying golden eggs for you right and left. DA says, there you go. 10 days, I think it was. It went 3-0. Again, I'll tell you this. The people who hate on Kansas City, I'm so tired of. You guys can do it. It's the free country. The free country, as Kenny says, there's still, I see Kenny make this comment a lot, and he's right. There's still there's free speech here. You have to suffer the consequences of what that speech is. Sometimes, not football, or talking about football. Kansas City's the best team in football until they are not. Somebody needs to beat them. They're 15-1. They don't always do it pretty, but there's no style points in football. It's all about wins and losses. That fat bastard Bill Parcells, sorry, said, you are what your record says you are. Truest thing ever I heard. Doesn't matter. They find ways to win games. Andy Reid is approaching the Mount Rushmore of coaching. I need more than 4 guys up there, though. Since they weren't going to finish, they didn't really finish Mount Rushmore. They were going to do much more with it, but ran out of money. I feel like I can put more, busts up there. Andy Reid is the best coach in football today and has been for some time. He passed Bill Belichick, when Belichick lost Brady. I don't want to get into that conversation, but yes, he didn't have the team and he didn't have the horses. Andy Reid wins with whatever you give him. Now, yeah, he didn't start winning a lot of playoff games and Super Bowls until he got Patrick Mahomes. But great quarterbacks have made a lot of guys geniuses. I never throw Andy Reid in there, by the way, when I'm making the argument that, Brady and Belichick needed each other. Great coaches don't win Super Bowls without great quarterbacks. As great as Andy Reid is, never won a Super Bowl until he got Patrick Mahomes. Landry never won without Staubach. Chuck Noll never won without Bradshaw. Walsh never won without Montana. Lombardi never won without Starr. Okay. Well, he had Starr most of the time. Billy, my West Coast family loves NBA. I watched the last 5 minutes of at least 5 games. 5 minutes equals... Wait a minute. Billy, did you go to Perth? Oh, 5 minutes equals an hour. I get you. Sorry. You meant in real time. I agree. I thought you're mad. I thought you were telling me you watch... now I get it. So you watch 5 hours of basketball. Listen, I'm an NBA fan. It's getting hard to watch sometimes. The Knicks are fun to watch. They move the basketball, but until playoffs come, I can't get that excited. The Knicks are playing great basketball. They play good. They play a good for today's game. This isn't the 73 Knicks, right? You're not going to see them move the ball for 20 seconds around the perimeter and then get a 10-foot jump shot or a layup. That's not happening. All these teams are looking for 3-pointers way too often, but they're looking to they move the basketball looking for an open 3-pointer, similar to what the Warriors did when they were in their heyday. But these teams, if I'm not mistaken, some game, 2 teams put up 183 pointers. Bad enough when I got to watch that crap in the All-Star game, which I don't watch because of it. No, not just the Jets and Giants. Every team needs to get away from picking quarterbacks in the first round. You need a quarterback. I'm not arguing the fact you don't need a quarterback. But the numbers say it's not worth the risk of taking somebody in the first round. And I guarantee you the Giants will take a quarterback in the first round too soon, either Cam Ward or they should trade out of there. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders will be overdrafted. They'll be drafted too high, similar to Daniel Jones. Other guys are falling way back. Guys we thought would be in the first rounders, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck. They're going to go in the 3rd and 4th round, guys. They could be guys that could win in the NFL. You can find guys in the 3rd and 4th round. Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls. He got drafted 6. I know he's a bit of an anomaly. Mark Rypien won a Super Bowl. Joe Theismann won a Super Bowl. I'm trying to think of some other non-first rounders. Again, the numbers get skewed a little because of guys who won multiple ones. Joe Montana, 2nd round draft pick. Won 4 Super Bowls. I'm not saying don't take quarterbacks until round 6. I'm not saying that. You'd be better off taking better players in the first round. Or, because again, if you're a bad team, quarterback doesn't help you. Anyway, build depth on offensive line, defense, and get a quarterback. Jets and Giants have too many holes. So do the Patriots. So does everybody else. That's why the Patriots shouldn't have been taking a quarterback, but I'm taking a wide receiver, not a line, even though I need a lineman. You draft correctly, you can get linemen later, too. Anyway, there's an argument to be made both ways. Drake May will never get to a Super Bowl. He may not. Again, listen, the numbers I just gave you, there's a 92% chance he doesn't win a Super Bowl. But that's any guy who gets drafted in the first round. There's a 92% chance he never wins a Super Bowl. I do think Drake May will win a Super Bowl. I do think they will get this organization straightened out in the next 2 years. It's going to be a while. He's not winning in his second or third year. He's going to win in year 6 or 7 probably, and he's not winning 6. He'll be lucky to win 1. Kenny's favorite cowgirl was paid $20 million for a halftime show. She showed the pistol wave and no American flag. Well, this is the first I shouldn't say at first I've heard of it, because I've seen it on social media. I don't watch these halftime games, their shows. I don't get wrapped up in all. I watch the football. I don't watch the pregame shows. I don't watch halftime. I don't watch postgame shows. I don't watch what guys do during the national anthem. I don't watch any of that. I tune in for football. And I could care less about Beyonce and what she does at the halftime of whatever game she performed at. Was it the Texans game? I don't even know. Jackson's been great, but Allen doesn't have the supporting cast. Jackson does, agreed. And he's done more for his team to get them where they are, especially considering the changes in his receivers. By the way, it isn't like this year that Josh Allen has had to use less talented receivers. Yes, he had Stephon Diggs, but you look at some of the receivers he had outside of Stephon Diggs throughout his career, there's nobody that sticks out as, oh my God, that guy's great. And this year he doesn't have a big number 1 guy, but there's some really good receivers on that team. Cooper now that he's there, although his numbers haven't reflected it. Shakir's had some good games. Gabe Davis has good games. There's some guys who have really good games and step up. But Josh Allen carried, and James Cook, by the way, is an excellent, one of the best running backs in the league, and he catches the ball out of the backfield. So they're more committed to the run than they've been, and Josh Allen plays in control more. That's the one part you left out here, Drew. He's still doing some of the amazing things that he's done in the past, but he's done it more in control. Doesn't turn the ball over the way he did in the past. And when he has, they don't win. An interesting stat from the MLB offseason, the Cardinals and Padres are the only teams that have made no moves to replace the players they've lost. Well, it looks like the Padres are looking to trade Dylan Cease and some other guys too. So I don't know what's going on in Padre land. Getting late, early, as Yogi would say. Paraphrasing what Yogi would say. It's going to be January, guys. Spring training camps will open in 6 weeks, and there's still free agents out there, as always. Pete Alonso, big loser in this free agency. The first base market dried up on him in a hurry, and I think you'll see him go back to the Mets at a substantially cheaper rate. Mets played this one perfectly if they get him back. And again, we had this little discussion last week. I'm glad the Yankees didn't sign him. I would rather have a diminished Paul Goldschmidt than Alonso. Brady's performance at the NFL Combine, including a 5-point. By the way, the worst ever. Yes, thank you. It's amazing anybody picked him. He wouldn't have got picked. There's a very good chance, by everything that I've been able to gather information-wise over the last 25 years, that if the Patriots didn't take Tom Brady, he would have been an undrafted free agent. That's how bad his combine performance was. By the way, if you watch my Don Beebe interview, we don't talk about 60s very often, right? But we talk about 40s. We talk about 100-yard dashes. And Don Beebe, without warming up, not practicing track at all, told a story about when he was at Chaudhry College, Division III school. The track coach challenged him to run against some of his best players in the 60-yard dash, and he ran a 6.3. Don Beebe was a fast guy, man. He's one of the better people I've talked. I've talked to a lot of great people on the 101 show. This isn't to put anybody else down. Don Beebe is one of the most interesting guys, one of the most inspirational guys I've ever talked to. Don Beebe gives a lot back, still giving a lot back, and I love his attitude about life. And I had a lot of fun. Rick comes out with a case of Tourette's. I don't know what that means. 67 years old, and then longer is your next. Rick, I need more words. What is that? I'm sorry. I don't mean to bust chops. I really don't. Oh, Bernard Langer, 67. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rick. Jeez. Bernhard Langer, 67. That's close to 70. This guy, I love Bernhard. I've always loved Bernhard Langer's game. Not to be confused with Stratagema, the game featured in Star Trek The Next Generation. No, I don't think it has any relation to that CA. But I love it. I'm a Trekker myself. And I love it when we can get a Star Trek reference on this show, which we don't often do. But now this may become one of those things where we try to fit a Star Trek reference into every show. Sorry if you're non-Trekkers, but I'm going to go on a crusade to get this done. Paul just reminded him they fined Kelsey for dunking a football on a goalpost for fear of making the goalpost move. So why don't the kickers get fined for hitting it during their kicks? Well, I don't think he got fined did he get fined because the goalpost moved? Or did he get fined for taunting? I don't know. I saw the play. And I know he did it kind of as a tribute to Tony Gonzalez, who I believe was sitting in the sitting behind the end zone. He was doing the game for was that a Prime game? I think it was. I don't know what it was. Tony Gonzalez was there. Tony Gonzalez, that was his signature thing. He was a basketball player at Cal besides being a football player. And he used to dunk it over the why. I don't remember why they fined him, but I don't think if we're going to find kickers, we're going to find a lot of kickers who doink it off the upright. That's an interesting question that I don't have an answer for. Nick's still a player short or too short because some of these guys playing 40 minutes, not double. I'm not going to go down this road again. You hate Tom Thibodeau, Carlos, and it's never going to change. This team has as good a chance to get out of the East as anybody. I will agree with you this year. Their bench is a little shorter than normal, or more shorter than I would like. But Tom Thibodeau gets a bad rap. I mean, last year he had like 8-9 guys playing 20 minutes a game. This is a good basketball team. They're going to go as far as this starting five takes them. Yes, it's a better basketball team. It's taking them some time. They're starting to gel. They won 7 in a row. So they didn't lose last year in the playoffs because of the bench and guys being worn out. The only guy who's ever worn out in his team is Julius Randle, and he's gone because he did. And they've replaced him with a better player. I love Julius Randle. Yes, he ran out of gas. I put that on Julius Randle not being in shape. Can't play 40 minutes a game. Back in the day, these guys would play 47, 48 minutes a game. The entire game. One trick point. We got to come up with some new stuff. Brad Johnson, another one. Thank you, Rick. There's a bunch. Oh, actually, Dilfer was the number 1 pick. That's not a good one. Trying to think of one more while I'm on that topic. Lenny Dawson. How about Len Dawson? Undrafted. 2 Super Bowls he went to. Won 1. Good answer. Good answer, Kenny. Hello, Paula. Paul's back. Welcome back, Paul. They lost because of exhaustion and injuries. Injuries. Yes, injuries. They lost because of injuries. And you're going to tell me it's because they played 38 minutes a game and not that's bullshit. I'm sorry, Carlos. I'm obviously on a BS kick today. That's wrong, and I'm going to continue telling you it's wrong. You rely on your stars. Every team relies on their stars. How many minutes a game does Tatum play for Boston? Probably more than anybody on the Knicks. I don't know. I'm just hoping he does now that I said that. Those guys on the Knicks in 70, 73, I know the game was played a little different, but still, they're playing 48 minutes a game, 46 minutes a game, 45 minutes a game. Phil Jackson, those guys would come in. If a guy off the bench played 10 or 15 minutes, that was a lot. You had 6 guys you'd play, and you'd have fill in after that, basically, as a rule. Jalen Brunson wasn't worn out at the end of last year. He was banged up. I'm sure you're all for load management and all this other nonsense that we have to talk about today. I'm paying these guys a lot of money. Go out there and suck it up and play. Not paying you to sit on the bench and rest or take a game off so you can feel better. It's a long freaking season. I'm glad you're back, Carlos. I haven't had a lot of people rile me up. Thank you, Neil. They lost because of injuries at the wrong time. It had nothing to do with the rotation. It had to do with the fact that the rotation got hurt. Thank you, Neil. Every once in a while, a voice of reason will step up when you least expect it. Thank you. Not that I don't expect reason from you, Neil. Your first comment of the day, that's all. And Randall was well, not so much. I mean, Randall did give up some assists. Come playoff time, though, he would change his game. He was not Carmelo Anthony. Let's put it that way. Carmelo was a black hole. Randall moved the basketball. In crunch time, listen, I think there's some times where Jalen Brunson goes one-on-one too much in crunch time, and they get away. This is in the past, not so much this year. I haven't. And again, I have to watch more of this team. As we get into January, I will. But I look at the box scores. I see what's going on. And there's times where Brunson, doesn't give up the ball enough in crunch time. But again, he's their best player. You want the best player to have the ball in crunch time. During the course of a game as a rule, especially regular season, Randall wasn't necessarily a black hole. He'd have a pretty good number of assists. Now, I will agree that as the games became bigger in the playoffs, Randall would hold on to the basketball a little bit too much. And Randall was a guy, to Carlos's point, who would get run down in the playoffs. But listen, I'm going to put that on Randall for not being in shape. Sorry. I'm not holding the player accountable or the coach accountable for him. And again, maybe that goes to the coach for not getting him in the right condition, but the rest of the team was. So what's that say? Kenny was thinking the same thing about your former colleague. Get new stuff and stop living in the same life. I'm sorry, Carlos. I will say welcome back. It's good to have another sparring mate on these shows. Although, again, I've shot down every one of these theories in the past. Drew says, hard to believe Verlander and Scherzer are still out there in free agency. Well, Yeah, I see you roll your eyes. It's because I don't think it is, given their age and injury issues. And I think Verlander's still got more left than Scherzer, quite frankly. But they're two of the best pitchers of this generation. And look as a baseball fan, I hope they find a landing spot and can have one more last hurrah if they could. I like both of them. I love the way they both pitched in their career, going right after hitters. I hope they find a place, but I don't want it to be in the Bronx. Tatum played 35.6 minutes a game last year. Okay. Thank you, Rick. Probably a little less than a couple of Knicks stars, but it's still a lot. I mean, today, yeah, you want your whole team to play 28 minutes? So you're going to sit your best players down for, a third of the game. Silly. Whoa. It's a little flash here, guys. Hope we don't lose the power. The generator will kick on, but the internet would likely go out. Old arms both should become relief pitchers. Maybe. I mean, the way the game's played today, you only got to pitch 5 innings, so what's the big deal? He said sarcastically. Sasaki will be the biggest starter signing now that Burns is gone, and that won't happen, right? He has said he will wait until after the interleague or international signing. I think he can sign, Drew. I think he's chosen to wait, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It's been a while it's been at least 10 days since I read this article about his timeline. I thought the context of the article was it was his decision to wait until after the international signings. But I could be wrong. But again, I know there's different rules about international signings now and whatever. He's going to get his money. It doesn't matter when he signs. He's the biggest starter. He may have been the biggest starter to begin with. He may have been bigger than Fried. He may have been bigger than Burns. He's 23 years old, which is younger than a lot of these Japanese pitchers have come over here in the past. It's going to be interesting. It's always a crapshoot. These guys, and they tend to have success out of the gate, right? Even Hideki Arabu had some. Hideki Arabu, was that his name? Hideki? I think so. Arabu had some success early. We all know that Nomo was lights out his first year, 2 years, and that the league kind of catches up with these guys. They're also not, in the historically, haven't been that young when they get here. Oh, what's we got? I'm out of comments. Look at that. That doesn't happen at 10 o'clock. Let's go to the NFL. Let me do my picks while we have no comments. I'll let you guys put a few more things up. Here's a couple of things we haven't chatted about if you want to. For whatever reason, and maybe because some of the guys from that conversation haven't been here, Paul was in this conversation. Kenny and Rick, I think, it were at least on the outskirts of it, but it was Danny and Paul. But talking about Jalen Milroe, I haven't found any credible. He's not in the transfer portal. He's playing in the game Tuesday against Michigan. There's not one credible source that I can find, except one article that was posted. And every other thing links back to that same article. I know that Danny posted a video that I could not link anything to. I don't know what was said in that video. It was 2 weeks ago, but there is not one credible source that's saying he's transferring to Oregon. In fact, every credible source, or when I say credible, I guess I'm talking about the main news sources that you find, not whatever this rinky-dink. Yeah, that's clickbait, what was there. And even that article only said it was hypotheticals. There was nothing concrete about anything. He's not in the portal now. The portal closed yesterday, by the way. You can't get in the transfer portal. I do believe there's a 5-day window after a bowl game, though, that anybody who does participate in a bowl game has those extra 5 days. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go through. Let me go through the picks here quick. And we'll look at the leaderboard. I know Paul was right there and didn't get some picks in, so that kind of sucks. And then we could talk anyway. We didn't talk that much about that. Syracuse playing all 22 starters playing in their bowl game, I think, is a plus. The whole thing with the transfer portal, stop blaming the kids. Blame the adults who aren't stopping any of this and are putting all of this and caused all of this, and teach the kids no loyalty, because coaches don't stay, teams don't stay in their conferences after they've been there 125 years. They don't show any loyalty to their players, to their fan base, to the other teams in their league, to their history. Well, we want to blame the kids. We got the playoff chase. We still got 2 spots available in the AFC, I believe, and 1 in the NFC, if I wrote this down correctly. Rodgers talking his way out of New York. Comments he made about Woody Johnson and Woody Johnson's 15-year-old son, who supposedly was giving player advice based on Madden ratings. And Rodgers is trying to talk his way off this team. He gets waived, he gets his money. He retires, he gets nothing. Major League Baseball. I was going to look at I'll look at the Hall of Fame. After this, I'll look at the Hall of Fame guys as well. And then there's some college basketball stuff, whatever you guys want to get into. We'll start getting into more of that. By the way, quick reminder, college basketball or the college football huddle, the college sports huddle we'll start to transition to. Will not be on, obviously, Wednesday, New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day. I'll be watching some football and doing whatever else. But we'll do it again Thursday at 4 p.m. Paul, make sure Danny knows, would you please? I'll make sure Danny knows. All right. So here's the leaders, or last week. Let's look at last week's real quick. Week 16. Saw Keith with 12. A little late for that. Cam, I'm not sure who that is. Cam 22. One with 12. Oh, I wonder if that could be Sonia. I don't know. JB's picks with 12. Rick with 11. Sorry. Drew with 10. Poppy with 10. Our generic ESPNer falls all the way down to 10. Pretty even groupings. Everybody else has got 10. Sports Nut Poppy's pick 1. And Paul with 10. This week, so far, boy, Rick is undefeated this week. Drew's undefeated this week. JB's got 5. Sports Nuts got 5. Keith has only got 3. I've been doing some reaching. Anyway, here we go. Kansas City, Keith wins. You know what's funny is I bet Baltimore. I took the Texans in the pool, and I ended up betting Baltimore that day. I took the Bears. I did think the Bears had a fighting chance in that game. We know why we took the Patriots, and I took the Bengals. Today, these are still going on. I did take the Rams. Here's the games we have left. Danny, I hope you're here. I'm taking the Giants over the Colts. Richardson's not playing. The Giants want to win a game. This is you got 2 more chances, maybe for this coaching regime, and maybe this is your last chance to win a game. I'll take the Bills over the Jets. Should be an easy pick, right? We'll take the Saints over the Raiders. I'm going to give you my bets here in a second, too. Tampa Bay over Carolina. Jacksonville over Tennessee. I have got Philadelphia. Kenny Pickett starting today. I'm still going to take Philadelphia to eke out a win over the Cowboys. I'll take the Dolphins. I'm going to stay with the Dolphins. I'll stay with the Dolphins, even though Tua is not playing. I like Green Bay. Sorry, Rick. I know you like, and I know you love it when I pick against your team. I like the momentum that Green Bay's putting together right now. I love his starting to get, I think, clean up his game a little bit. And I think the Packers are going to be a very dangerous out in the NFC. I like Washington, which I'm definitely betting. And I like the 49ers to upset the Lions today. High scoring affair. That could be an over bet for me. Here's my picks. Here's my betting picks in the Why do I have a? Oh, what's that? Look like football might be off this week for Keith. My buddy Mark is sick, so I may stay home. Check that out. Well, Mark, I hope you feel better if you're watching. I did pick up on that cough. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Let me look at the cigar box, and I'll give you my picks. I know I'm betting the Redskins. Please don't tell me it's not the Redskins, because it is. I'll text Tommy and tell him we're not coming, by the way. Sorry. I don't know who I'm talking to. Got a very short pick. I got 3 picks to make today and tomorrow. I believe I'm going to go Redskins -3.5 over the Falcons. I'm going to bet I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. This is a tough schedule. I'm going to take the Packers +1 over the Vikings. And I might look for an over-under for the last one. I think I might bet I don't know what the over is yet in the 49er Lion game. That's probably going to be my bet, is going to be an over in that game. So there you go. What do you got left for me here, guys? Comments. I guess I'm not going anywhere, so I can stay longer if we have to today. But where are we? Where did I leave off? Well, you guys got a bunch of comments up since I did this last. Or do you? Alonzo goes to the Giants is my prediction. That's not a bad spot for him, quite frankly. I mean, again, not being a fan, I think the Giants, although the Giants have already made a couple big signings in Adamas, and who they just signed somebody the other day, too. It depends on their budget, right? But not a bad pick. It might be winter doldrums. I don't know. Sometimes we have a little lull, then we pick it back up. Keith, not sure about him going to the portal. Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's going into the portal. I'm not saying, look at, and here's my point, and it was hard to get into that conversation yesterday, Paul. And I'll give you my take on all of that. The article that you posted, that article never said he was transferring to Oregon. It said it was a possibility and consideration. And by the way, I can find so many, and I have no idea where you found this article. But when I find something like that from one of those sources, first thing I go do is look for CBS Sports. I look for ESPN. I look for The Athletic, who's really good and on top of these things. Bench. Oh God, what's that one site I use a lot? I can't think of what it was. I think it's Bench something or other. But I go look for those areas, and there's not a single mention. He's not in the portal this minute. So he's got 5 days after his bowl game to still go, even though the portal closed today. And everything that I read is he's going to go into the NFL draft. And right now, well, I don't think these guys should be drafted in the first round. He's the 3rd quarterback projected to go behind Ward and Sanders. He's going in the NFL draft. That is almost a given. And I didn't understand if Danny pops in, he can mention himself. And there was a lot of it. And I think Kenny might have been involved in this. I don't know. It's hard for me to keep track when I'm way behind and go in. But there was a lot of discussion about he shouldn't be allowed to play. He hasn't said he's going anywhere. So why should he not be allowed to play? We get mad when guys opt out, and we get mad when guys opt in or decide to play. It confuses me. What are we pissed off about? I wish Danny was here, because again, I want him to give a chance to explain that. And the problem with going back and forth in those messages, Paul, as you know, and all of us know, I think it's hard to convey the message you're trying to get across, right? Which is why we're going to let Paul come in and talk about his argument against the shift in a Major League Baseball update show soon, maybe as soon as next week, Paul. So I don't know. I could not find the video that Danny had posted. Again, it wasn't necessarily on a credible, what I would consider a credible place. Now, if he said whatever he said he watched the whole video. I couldn't find it. I found other videos, and none of them talk about anything other than his decision to play in the game, and his future. He doesn't even talk about. We'll talk about it after the game. College football's become a semi-pro league. I would argue it might have become a pro league, Kenny. And it's going to continue to change. I mean, we're not even talking about guys just getting $1 million anymore. Right? The kid from LSU got $10 million over 3 years to transfer to Michigan. Flip from LSU to Michigan. There was a story just this week, and I can't remember where the quarterback was from. He's a true freshman. He was getting, I believe, $8 million over 2 years to transfer to Duke. They're pros. And we knew it. I said it before. But again, remember, and maybe it's going to take a year or two for me to really feel the effect. I said before the year, I have to either accept the new reality or I have to move on. So I've tried to accept the new reality, compartmentalize that when I watch the games. I'll still talk about all this stuff. But as long as the energy and the excitement on Saturdays is there, I'll be excited. And I'll still love college football. That was the case this year. Maybe it's a one-year thing because of the newness of the playoff, and every game felt like it had playoff implications, which it did, almost. Right up through the conference championship games, which I think with expanded playoffs, they should do away with conference championship games. Regular season champions should go or get the automatic bid. The bowl game issue is that's not new. It's not caused by NIL. It's not a part of it is. I guess it's not new, but it's been made worse by the portal and NIL and whatnot. The NCAA can step in and change rules. I mean, this winter window being from the 9th to the 28th puts pressure on kids if they want to move for whatever reason. And again, you may not like that it's for more money, but it's not the kid's fault. The NCAA didn't take control of the situation when they could have. It ended up in the courts, and the courts made decisions that are bad for football. And these teams, I agree, Kenny, they players need to be penalized if they leave, and I'm fine. I've talked about this a lot. I'll give you NIL money. I'll give you whatever you want. Well, theoretically. But you're going to play every game we play if you're healthy. Or if not, give me my money back. Right? If I give you $8 million over 2 years and you better stay or I want my money back. If you commit to 2 years, you're going to see contracts signed. You have to put, again, it just pushes it more towards a pro league, Kenny. I get this. But you cannot continue to operate with, again, it's the NFL with no salary cap and no restrictions on free agency. None. Imagine what the NFL would be like with that. Hopefully, Keith, I'll run the board in today's games. Me too, Paul. Good luck. Hope you do. Oh, I didn't do the full. I didn't do the season leaders, did I? Sorry about that. Let me give you the season leaders real quick. I apologize. By the way, I'm doing even worse than Drew's. I don't know how that's possible, but. So right now, as we stand today, and I think it includes the games already played. It's not Kenny. Rick is leading with 178. JB's at 176. The ESPN generic fan has fallen to 175. The Sportsnut to 174. Drew at 162, so a big drop. All those guys are still in contention. Drew at 162 is out. Paul's out with 157. Poppy picks one is out with 154. And Keith really pulling up the rear of this league because everybody else hasn't played full schedules or filled out cards every week. So anyway. Christian Watson is out for the Packers game. That's okay. I like him. That's okay. Anyone signing a Marshall kid should be banned from postseason next year. Bunch of quitters, just like Florida State. Again, why don't you? I got one issue here, Neil, and it's not you. It's came up a lot. You're not wrong. I guess they followed the rules that are put into place. Again, they have to in the portal, and they have to commit. They have to be committed and in school in January if they're going to a new school. The coach quit on them. Let's stop blaming kids and calling them quitters when their coach quit on them. The coach that recruited these kids left before their bowl game to take a job at Southern Miss. I can't sit here. Again, Neil, this is not directed specifically to you. You're just a messenger. Sorry. I can't keep blaming kids for things adults have said are okay. Coaches leave. They don't give a shit about the kids. There I go again. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about the fans. The teams themselves, the universities, don't care about the kids, don't care about the fans, don't care about their league and teams that are also in their leagues. They just go to the league that give more money. Leave behind 125 years worth of history in the Pac-12 at Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Put some blame where it belongs. We're supposed to be teaching these young men. With that said, Army gets to play Louisiana Tech, who doesn't even deserve to be in a bowl game. Again, they didn't create the rules. The NCAA did not step in. They let this go on for 4 or 5 years. It ends up in court, and now it's a wild, wild west. There's no rules at all. No, it's fine. This is what this is for. I'm not going to sit here and sing kumbaya. I don't want to sit here and sing kumbaya in that chat or on this show. I mean, I jumped out of that conversation only because I wanted to get into it today. It's easier for me to express my opinions here. And it brings up the larger topic as Neil talked about, right? Again, there's a lot of kids that are moving we don't talk about. We focused on Milroe, Mateer, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, leaves Washington State before their bowl game. He's a quitter. Don't blame just the kids at Marshall. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids that have transferred already that were playing in bowl games, Neil. They're all quitters by your standard. And by the way, the kids at Florida State only quit after the NCAA screwed them last year. They should have been in a playoff. None of them would have quit. Again, my vitriol is about the topic, not necessarily the deliverer of the message, Neil. We get to yell and scream. We get to have fun on this show. Oh, I love it here. I really do. I do. This is fun for me. Can you explain the rule in football? So again, don't get mad, Neil. I'm not yelling at you. I hope you don't get mad. I don't go out of my way to piss anybody off. I'm sure I piss off a lot of people, and I can't do much about it. You're going to get me unfiltered all the time. Can you explain the rule in football that allows a fair catch infraction to turn into a field goal attempt? Yeah, when there's no time left on the clock, and And I think you can do this at any time on a fair catch. Doesn't need to be a fair catch infraction. Let me see if I can find it. I had it. I think we talked about this. We talked about this somewhere else. Hold on. Free kick rule. Here, I'll give you the rule in general. Here's the free kick rule. According to the NFL rulebook, a free kick is a kickoff safety kick or onside kick that puts the ball in play to start a free kick down. It is typically only made at the end of a half. All right, so that's after a fair catch is made or awarded. Oh, it does have interference in here. My apologies, Billy. After a fair catch is made or awarded as a result of interference, the receiving team has the option of putting the ball in play with a snap or a fair catch kick, drop kick, or place kick without a tee from the spot of the catch or succeeding the spot after enforcement of any acceptable penalties. This includes a 15-yard penalty enforced when the receiving team's from the receiving team's 20-yard line is applicable if the fair catch is made. So, and the only difference is the free kick, you can't rush. So you're really only going to see this, and that's why you've only seen it a handful of times. I think the last time was 2019. So if you call a fair catch and you interfere with that fair catch and you're given a 15-yard penalty, once it's enforced, you can have a free kick. Now, you can do that at any time in the game. It's really only going to come into play when there's no time, because if there's 2 minutes, you're not going to try to kick a field goal, even though there's no rush. You're going to try to, or end of a half or end of a game, I should say. So that's a deal. It's kind of an archaic rule, I guess. I don't understand it. I guess it's to make sure that there's an extra penalty for an interference, fair catch interference call at the end of a game, to give the defending team an unfair advantage of just being able to level a kicker, or a return man. So I don't know. Make sure you shave, Paul, before you appears on the podcast. I don't think I need to come on about the shift. Oh, come on. You said you wanted to. I was speaking to a friend of mine who made me realize this. I don't like the shift, but if the shift is part of the new rules, I'd rather not have the shift rule, because I like the period of the game and I hate these changes. Hope that it makes plenty of sense. I mean, that's part of my argument is the fact that, all these rules change the whole dynamic of the game. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a good thing necessarily that teams can put 7 guys on one side of the field, right? I'm saying if I put 7 guys on one side of the field, the guy who's up ought to be smart enough to try at least to get the ball to the other side of the field. But they don't try. And I know it's hard. I do know it's hard. And maybe it's harder now than it was. I've said 120 years they've been able to do it. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it. Guys throw harder and with more, more nasty stuff on the ball. But we don't even try to teach guys to hit the ball the other way. I mean, if you can pull the ball into the shift consistently, then you damn well ought to be able to do something else too. So anyway, I get your point, Paul. Linda or Mac, welcome. How are you? Sorry for my little outburst this morning. If you weren't watching before I started my show, we were doing our picks on the big football show, and I picked Baltimore only because I was sent the list of teams to pick from, and I picked them. I'm not blaming James. It didn't even cross my mind that we only picked Sunday games, quite frankly. And then Mac had said something that sounded like, and again, that's me. Don't listen to the whole thing. Just listen to the part of the conversation you want to. My wife hates it when I do that. I have selective hearing. I don't hear the whole comment, and I go, what? I heard something that made it sound like I picked the game after the game was played, which Mac said wasn't the case, and it's fine. I get mad. Listen, I do sometimes have a short fuse. The good thing about me is I don't ever hold on to stuff. Well, you wouldn't know watching the show, I guess. From a personal standpoint with people, I don't hold grudges. Maybe with Tim DeGrula. What's his name? Rick, help me out. Dragula. I'm the guy I had to run in with him. I don't remember his name. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. I didn't get your question. Or Mac. Maybe make the players sign contracts, and maybe they should enforce. I don't disagree. Something has to happen. Something has to happen. But I have a hard time just blaming the kids when the coaches, the universities, everybody does the same thing. There's no loyalty. There's no, don't get on the kids and say there's no loyalty. Right? They're only doing what's within the rules. I don't like them not playing in games, but then we also get on them for not playing, and then we get on them for playing when they're going to go somewhere else, because I believe if you're in the portal and have committed somewhere else, you can play. If I'm that university you're committed to, I might not want you to. I think the coaching thing is going to straighten itself out. I mean, I think you're not going to see these 10-year, $100 million contracts because they're not working out, right? 12 years. Unless you've already earned it like, Kirby or whoever. But there's a whole bunch of them that are really becoming albatrosses now. Brian Kelly's contract. Mel Tucker, look at the mess at Michigan State. Jimbo, Fisher, James Franklin at Penn State. These guys, I mean, it'd be very hard to move on from these guys because you got to pay off that guaranteed contracts. So I don't disagree. I mean, as this game evolves into what it's going to continue to be, I mean, I have no illusions that we're going back to 1982. But again, I mean, the vitriol seems to always be on the coaches. I don't see any reply from Neil. Hope I didn't piss him off. Neil, the check's in the mail. And he has a little inside joke about button. I don't think Neil's pushing buttons, though. I think Neil strongly feels what he meant. And I know, Rick, you also talk about the quitters. So, again, you can't have it both ways. You can't tell me guys quit, right, if they don't play in their bowl game. And then you can't get mad if a kid, and he hasn't, by the way, Jalen Milroe is not committed somewhere else. And even if he's planning on leaving, you're going to get mad because he played in his current team's last game? Can't have it both ways. And I don't know what your opinion was on Rick yesterday, Rick, quite frankly. I don't know. Neil's going to work extra hard to whoop your butt on fancy baseball. It wasn't, listen, that diatribe was not directed at Neil. It's a topic, right? Oh, that's the case most of the time, almost all the time. It's never directed at you guys personally. If I get in that kind of mood, it's the subject that we're talking about, and there's so much hypocrisy and on both sides, all sides of this topic. There's so much hypocrisy that it's just difficult sometimes, very difficult. I agree. Good. Marshall won their conference, then did not play. Embarrassing. Neil, I agree 100%. I don't disagree. The kids didn't cause that, though. The coach did. Now, the kids moved it along. The kid hit the port. The coach hit the portal. Those kids, they could have waited till after the game to hit the portal. They would have, I mean, technically you'd still call them quitting on their team, I guess. And Marshall might have given Army a better game last night. That's probably true. But why don't the coaches wait until after their bowl game? I don't get it. I just don't get it. It isn't. And by the way, this isn't the first time this has happened. This has happened several times in the last 4 years where teams have gone. We've had to take 5 and 7 teams like Louisiana Tech because teams like Marshall have opted out because too many, they couldn't field the team. Often, not always, but often caused by the coach jumping He's not the only guy. 6 or 7 coaches took new jobs and did not coach their team in a bowl game. I can't just say that is okay and yell at the kids. And the universities, they should be embarrassed with what they've done to college football. For the sake of the almighty dollar, they've destroyed the history of college football. The teams in the Pac-12 should be embarrassed that they destroyed a league. Yeah, they'll be coming back next year. Big deal. It's not going to be a real power conference. 125 years worth of history down the drain because these guys want to go make more money than the hundreds of millions they're already making now. Except for UCLA. They seem to be able to lose money somehow. Button, another name for the Bulls. CA, there's a lot of threats going on today. CA, well, yes. Incompetent, I think is. I wish I could think of a worse name, a better name than incompetent. Neil, it's just, I mean, they don't even try. They don't even try. And now they're in a position where they can't do anything because the courts have said you can spend money on kids, $20 million budget, plus NIL money. That's how these kids are getting $10 million over 2 years, 3 years. And as Linda or Max said before, sign a contract. If I'm giving you money, you better sign a contract. You better play every game. I don't disagree with any of that. All these conversations that we're having, we likely agree on more topics than we don't. As Rick knows, I have this issue with this quitter thing. And the kids who leave a program and don't play, yeah, they're quitters. I agree. Don't call the kids who stayed behind quitters. So I hate that. The Florida State thing, the kids who stayed behind and got their butts kicked by Georgia aren't quitters. They knew they were going to get their butt kicked and they were there. And the coach could have easily said, we're not showing up. All these kids left. We're not going. Coach isn't a quitter either. And I will say again on this topic, Danny, good afternoon. Or good morning. What was I going to say? I lost track of what I was going to say. Oh, on the topic of opt-outs. Again, I can't say enough. Congratulations to guys like Coach Fran Brown and his Syracuse Orangemen, who all 22 starters played in their bowl game. Congratulations to Coach Prime and Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter, who all played in their bowl game. Congratulations to Cam Ward, who played in his bowl game, even though it was only a half, whatever. He played. Marco Cristobal made some strange decisions, but whatever. So anyway, there are some good stories too. Good morning, Danny, by the way. Daniel, my brother, Neil, not Neil Diamond, Neil Elton John, right? Everyone, coaches included, should suck it up and play. Agreed. I agree 100%. But again, you can't have it the other way and say, well, if you've committed to go somewhere else, I don't want you on the sideline. Which is also the case, right? I mean, when a coach leaves, university doesn't want him around. The coach should wait and tell the university, yeah, we'll do this and we'll announce it after my bowl game. It's always about money. Always has been. Well, it wasn't always, right? It has been for 40, 50 years. Until someone who actually finds a way to legislate against it or get a time machine, right? Drew, I figure legislation will never work. I mean, politicians are what they are. They're not going to do it unless somebody lobbies them with a lot of money to back them. I think we'll go a few minutes over today. So I think my building a time machine is probably more likely to happen than miraculously find a way to legislate against it. 4-minute warning. I know. I think we'll go a little long. I won't be able to replay this show at midnight. We'll replay my interview from Don Beebe. That's the only downside to going over is I'm over the 2-minute mark. So we can keep going a little bit. Danny just showed up. If Danny wants to chat about anything, we can certainly let Danny go. It is in a pathetic state, and I'm not the only one saying that, so don't just give me kudos. I understand you say it, Danny. Neil was saying it. Kenny has been saying it. Rick has been saying it. Paul's been saying it. Again, my only problem is, and I understand I could be in the minority here, and I'm fine with that, is we got to stop blaming the kids. The kids didn't start this. The kids don't, we don't give the kids any guidance. As adults, coaches take new jobs and leave them behind. Universities leave their fan base and everything behind. I will tell you this on the Milroe thing, though, Danny, because you weren't here, and I'll give you a chance because I know you were a big part of this conversation yesterday. Jalen Milroe is not in the transfer portal. Jalen Milroe is not going to Oregon as of today. And the transfer portal closed yesterday, but if I'm not mistaken, after the bowl game, they still have 5 days after to decide to hit the portal. So he can't have committed to Oregon if he's not in the transfer portal, which he is not. And there's not one, when I say credible, I'm talking about the CBS Sports sites, ESPN, USA Today, The Athletic, which is very, very good. Among some others that are reporting that Jalen Milroe has any interest in going to Oregon, that Jalen Milroe has any interest in anything except going to the NFL. And the site that I use, which is very, very good, by the way, for draft projections. I can't find who it is now. Is this it? I never know the name of this. It's the big board, PFF.com, their big board has him going. He's the third quarterback off the board after Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. 14th. They rank him 14th. Dylan Gabriel 16th. By the way, they do have, and I say Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders are going to be overdrafted. They may be very good quarterbacks, but I'm not taking guys in the first round. It doesn't work out 92% of the time. First round draft picks don't win a Super Bowl. 92% of the time. By the way, from 16 with Dylan Gabriel, you fall all the way down to 43. So middle of second round for Will Howard. Riley Leonard right after him, middle of second round. Carson Beck, back of the second round at best. Quinn Ewers has fallen all the way to the fourth round. 154? 30. That could be fifth round. Kyle McCord, who may have a way back to college football. I'm not sure why we're at 11th now. I don't know what that is. Yeah, what are these? I don't know what this is. All of a sudden now they've changed where they do it. Anyway. Oh, I see what it is. Maybe I did this wrong. Yeah, no, 145. That's right. Oh, I take that back. That is not, I don't know what that is. So that's weird. So anyway, Carson Beck, it's even worse than I thought, by the way. So anyway, here you go. They rate Cam Ward 19. Shadur Sanders 29. I agree with these rankings, by the way. Jalen Milroe 52. So that's middle of second round. Dylan Gabriel, 53. I'm with that. Howard, 95. Riley Leonard, 99. Carson Beck, 109. Third round. Ewers, fourth round. 128. Kyle McCord, fourth round. See, if I'm and again, let the guys take their quarterbacks. I'm going to take a Kyle McCord or maybe even a Quinn Ewers in the fourth or fifth round. Or Curtis Rourke. Cade Klubnik, 191. These guys, I'm not saying they'll ever work out, but there's probably a good chance that they'll work out as somebody you take in the first round. Yes, I want to say Happy New Year. And Danny, I thought Danny might have a little bit to add, but if he doesn't, I'm going to sign off myself. A little bit long today, a couple minutes. Looks like we may stay home and no football today. Well, we'll have football today, but we'll have it at home. And I'll see you guys on the rebound. Keith, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Before I sign off, Danny says 5 days after the bowl game. Keith Engle, I hope you're correct with all this fake news. I believe it is, Danny, and I'm not blaming you guys at all. It's what they do. It's what they do. I found that very same article that Paul shared first every time I did a search for Jalen Milroe, and they did a really good job of their organic results on web searching on the internet, because it was coming up very high in the results every time. But I can't find one other source that's reporting he's going to Oregon. And for what I read, too, Oregon's got two guys they're very happy with coming in behind Dylan Gabriel. But I don't know. But I remember over the years, coaches and players, administrators denying situations. Listen, I'm not, again, Denny, I want to be clear. And it was sometimes it's hard for me to get it clear in the chat because I'm just not that good at it. And I know it's hard in your comments too. I'm not saying there's zero chance he's going to Oregon. I'm saying right now he's made no comments about going to Oregon. He really hasn't made comments about going to the NFL necessarily. And all he's talked about is the bowl game, which he should be doing. So I give the kid credit. I think it's 100% he'll probably be in the draft myself. But that doesn't mean he couldn't end up in the portal and go to Oregon. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not a done deal. That's all. The Army game was hard to watch. The first half was okay to watch. I watched the first half and went to bed. Army was dominant. The second half, though, they only scored, I think, a couple of field goals, right? Army's a really good football team, but if you don't like that kind of football, which is really old school, it's hard to watch 60 minutes of it, however many minutes there are in a game. But it's hard to watch. So but I'm always going to root for, and by the way, I did take Navy over Oklahoma. Sorry, Alan. All right, guys, now we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to head up and see my wife and I guess see how my plans are going to change for the day, since Mark, my buddy Mark also texted my wife because he was afraid I wouldn't get the message to let him know that I wasn't going to be coming today. Or he wasn't. Feel well. We'll stay in and watch some football, or maybe go out and have a bite to eat. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Keith Engle, TGI Sports Talk, Sunday stream of consciousness. You guys enjoy anything you're doing today. Drew says, don't turn the music on. You turn it down. Happy New Year to everybody. Safe, happy travels. Enjoy your time. We got one more holiday week, and then we're back to real life, and we'll have some big news coming up in the new year, and we'll share it with you all very soon. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talk. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.